Hello and welcome everybody to the From Idea to Profit podcast, the IPR Business Blueprint. So this is brought to you by the IP Resource. I am your co-host, Tim Reisen, and I'm joined by my co-host,
John Wiley.
John Wiley. Hey, John, how you doing this morning?
Good, Tim. How are you?
I'm doing well. So today we are talking about, I'm looking over here at the topic, and I like this topic. And it's a question that we get a lot, especially I've gotten a lot as a business coach. What are the biggest mindset mistakes that hold entrepreneurs back? Whether you're first starting off or even like in it for a while. Like what have we seen? I know I've seen a few things. I'm sure you've seen a few things over the years, John. Even also more importantly, what things have held myself back and what things have held you back. This is even more important because we can actually speak to them very intimately. So, John, what's something that you know that has been a mindset issue that was a big roadblock in your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I think it's not just entrepreneurial, but in many ways, it's just in life in general. When you're trying new things, is that, and it's become cliche, but that fear of failure, right? It's, am I worthy enough? Am I good enough? Can I do this? Can I get it done? And just that fear, where I think the flip on that is welcome the failure.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. I don't know if anybody will ever admit, but I don't think there's one entrepreneur who hasn't been through that at some time in their entrepreneurial career.
Oh, I know I've been there, and I know that fear of failure is huge. I think also with that, and I'm sure you've heard this, right? The fear of success, right?
Yeah.
Which is and a lot of people are like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, how can I fear success? And I could tell you the first time I was selling a product, right, in a business, one of the first fears of success I had is, what if I sold beyond my ability to fulfill? Right. And, I had a business mentor at the time who said, that's a great problem to have. Right. But again, I think to sum it up, I think the mindset is when you're thinking limited, you're thinking small, it just seems like a problem that you can't fix. And I know I've been there, and it seems like you've been there. I think one of the biggest things is as we approach these mindset blocks, I think you're right. On the one hand is we need to have an awareness of them, right? And I think also to understand that everyone has them. Like everyone, this is not a you problem or a me problem. This is an everyone problem. It's like the constant battle of as we as humans are growing and learning and trying to become more, like, we're gonna hit hurdles and roadblocks. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yeah.
I remember, so with the referencing the success, so when I started my marketing consulting business in late 2017, right out of the gates, I had clients. This was like within 2 weeks of making the decision. I wasn't really prepared to do it. In hindsight, that definitely wasn't prepared. And that's kind of part of that fear of success. But I remember sitting down with a prospect, a company I really wanted to work with. I knew them well. And the CEO, after we had a conversation that was going very well, and he asked me, how long do you think you can do this all by yourself? And it was a gut punch, because I didn't think about that I'm going to need help. As the business grows, my responsibility to the clients grows. If it's just one client, that's just working with one team or one company. But when you went from 0 to 2 to 3, and then all of a sudden you're like, the fourth one says, how long can you do this? They question your ability to be successful, not in a negative way, but he's just pointing it out. And I wasn't ready to take them on. I pulled back and said, yep, I stepped back and we're not ready to work together. It's hard to say no to somebody who's saying yes.
Right. No, it's true. Right. And I think, would you agree that ego has a lot to play in that? Right. Like,
Heck yeah.
I think most of us can find ourselves in that situation where we got our, let's face it, what we're talking about is actually getting out of our own way. That's what mindset is, right? Like, mindset is changing the way you think so you can get out of your own way. And the ego is something that is a constant battle, I think. I know for me, because that it, I can tell you in my own experience, one of my biggest hangups, right, was nobody can do it better than me. Even if I knew I wasn't good at it because I didn't like doing it, nobody could do it better than me because it's my business, right? And I can't tell you how many times I found myself in that situation where now all of a sudden I'm working and I'm even doing things that I don't like. And when I ultimately look at it, the worst part about it, when I looked back at it, all the things I did that I didn't like were things that did not make the business money at all. And all the
Mm.
things that made the business money were diminished because I didn't have the time or the energy to focus on them, because I did all these other things. So yeah, for me, the biggest mindset was ego, that I need to do it all myself and nobody could do it better. And I just couldn't see. And I am so embarrassed of how many years I rarely admit this to anybody, but how many years I spent as an entrepreneur with that mindset, with that thing hold that roadblock in my business. It was well over a decade. I'll just say that I would refuse to allow any help because of my ego. And that was a big mindset block.
Yeah. You, when you hit the nail on the head, is the help. Uh, that the ego gets in the way. And we're entrepreneurs, so we can do this. We kind of have that, and we're undefeatable type of mindset, if you will. But once you realize that you need help, is another shift in mindset and a bigger step towards that success.
Yes.
Like when I was pointing out earlier, I wouldn't be able to handle the clients that I had in my funnel by myself and do a good job. But when I realized that, okay, I need some help, then I found some guy to do website design for me. I got the right software to manage my CRM. I got the right CRM software. I found that I had a good contacts for copywriters and just farmed everything out to them. English, let's say, wasn't my best class. So
Yeah.
so hand it over. What's the adage? Hire for your weaknesses,
Yes. Yes. And
which
yeah, it's true. Like, that's a hard thing because, one, again, going back to ego, that means you have to first admit that you have a weakness, right? It's so and it's so ridiculous when you really break it down. Like, why am I like shooting myself in the foot? Like,
yeah,
it's so funny when I see it in our clients. When I see it, I see in our clients, it's so easy to spot. And they're like, hey, listen, do you realize like how much time you're taking away from your actual money making endeavors in your business by you doing everything? But then flip that script around and put that mirror on yourself, shine a light on it, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like I spend way too much time. Even now, I still find myself doing things that I should be really having other people do. And when I do catch myself, I'm like, yep, yep, I know, yep. And I make a decision to change that. You know what? We do want to take a minute here at the IP Resource to celebrate the invention news of the week. And that is, this week in history, on February 11th, 1973, the National Inventors Hall of Fame was founded. Not only that, but during his presidency, President Reagan had instituted on February 11th being National Inventors Day, a day that we celebrate inventors. So all you inventors out there, February 11th, this is past then, but in future reference, February 11th, National Inventors Day, and the National Inventors Hall of Fame, founded in 1973. And yeah, beautiful.
wow, February 11th. That's
Yes.
cool.
So
That is,
moving back to this conversation, I think another thing to really be, you know, be aware of, right, is sometimes we don't see the blockages for what they are, right? Sometimes we just start getting the sense that we're not moving forward. And so, John, I guess I have a question for you. Like when you find yourself like in a position of you recognizing that you're starting to get a sense of the frustration that you're not moving forward, you don't recognize it as a block. I think you can relate to that, right? You don't really recognize it as a block right away. You just kind of like things aren't running as smoothly as they could. And until you start digging into it. So, anyways, can you walk us through your process of when you start getting that sensation of being that like things are lagging or whatever, to start sifting and sorting and figuring out what the block is? Man.
Sure. What I like to do, especially with clients, not everybody's willing to do this, but I call it going through the pits of prosperity. So where you're in, because I'll just speak from experience, right? So like I said, I got out, I hit the ground running and had a couple clients right away. So things were going well for me. But then I kind of like got some more people on board, but then now I had more expenses, but my revenue wasn't increasing. So now I'm ready to get more clients. How do I do that? Right. Which is in detail is another conversation, but stepping back and going into like, what have I been doing right so far these last couple of years at that time when I was doing it, and what was working, what wasn't working. And usually that's something I have a conversation with a prospect, what's working, what's not working in your business. And that can tell us right away if we're going to be a good fit. If they say, oh, everything's working fine, then why are we on a call?
Right.
But there's a reason, so I like going through that and asking the hard, or Tim, a practice you and I both use is the better question.
Yeah.
And that could be, it's kind of more creative way of thinking, but you got to go into that pit, and get into the mud of it and figure out why is it not working? Why are you not growing? Are you not making enough phone calls during the day to reach out to people? Are you, did you do your social media posts that month or whatever it is? Did you get on a podcast? Did you reach out? Did you invite somebody to a podcast? There's just so many different things that you could be thinking of, but then you have to pull back out of that and said, okay, what's the most important thing for me to do today? And getting that done before you move on to the next important thing. I'm going to spare you golf analogies, but that's usually often how I talk to people. It's especially the kids that I coach, I ask them, what's the most important shot? And they all say the next one.
Yeah.
They don't stay. So, but that's a mindset change, the next thing that you have to get done. And with that, the goal is, as you go through this pit of prosperity, you come out on the other side with a greater view of what your prosperity can be. And you get refocused and say, okay, if I do this and send that offer out to my network, if I get X amount of replies, then I am back on track. So you fall off the tracks, right? The train isn't always going straight and going uphill all the time. And sometimes it gets dislodged and you fall off the tracks, and that's just going to getting back into it. Just stepping back and taking a look at what was working in the past. Can you repeat that? If you can't repeat that, then maybe look for some help from somebody else, a colleague. Maybe you're got to change softwares, whatever it might be, but going through that pit and just being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Did you get complacent?
Right. Being honest with yourself is number one. Like if you're an entrepreneur who's lying to yourself, your chances of success is very limited. And yeah. So we ought to take a minute here and acknowledge one of our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by the Patent Search Made Simple, the cutting edge patent search software available through the IP resource. Patent Search Made Simple simplifies your prior art search by using AI to enhance your search parameters, keywords, and resources where the results are drawn. Simplify the search and maximize the results. Go to www.theipresource.com. Use code IPR20, That's IPR at checkout to get 20% off your search today. John, I do want to talk. You brought up the pit of prosperity, and I can tell you, right, like that part of that authentic entrepreneurial journey is getting dirty, right? Getting into the mud, I would say, right? Like the analogy of going into the pit, you and I are familiar with for a few years, and it is dirty business. Like it's not clean, it's not fun, but it kind of reminds me of the thing. You really don't really appreciate food until you've gone hungry for a period of time, right? You really don't appreciate water until you've been denied water for a period of time. Like, and it's not about denial and things like that. It's just about this understanding that you really appreciate a shower. Here's my favorite one. You appreciate a shower when you're filthy dirty. Like, and it's a matter of when you go into the pit, you're getting dirty, you're getting in the mud, you're really, really just neck deep in it, like, because you're trying to, it's not only like this arduous thing, but emotionally it's affecting you. Like that's the thing that we talk a lot about mindset and growth as entrepreneurs, but the reality is one of the difficult things about like the entrepreneurial journey is the reconciliation of the fact that it's combination of the mind and the heart, right? Like you need that combination. Like you can't just check out your feelings and just focus on work and just, I mean, I guess you can, but then you're not really an entrepreneur. You just basically created yourself a zombie condition that you just work for yourself. That's different. Like, but entrepreneurs like are utilizing both faculties, right? The logic of their mind, but also the passion in their heart. And there's an emotional attachment to what they're doing. And so, right, it's a dirty mess. And I do want to kind of stick with this a little bit and share with everybody, where lying to yourself and not being authentic can really hinder your movement forward. To me, it's one of the biggest roadblocks. Because we did kind of touch on it. Like one of the things, like the ego is actually a liar, right? The ego says you can do it all and nobody can do it better, right? That's a lie, right? And another lie that I've come across is, if you don't want to do it, nobody else does. Right. That was like,
Yeah.
that was a big lie that I just like, cause I could tell you, and I think I talked about this on another podcast recently, which was when I first started business, I dreaded and hated bookkeeping and taxes. Those are the two things that but I had to do it because it had to be done or else business wouldn't work. Right. But the ego lied to me that said, because you don't like it, nobody else is going to like doing it. So why even bother asking? It's not like I wasn't making enough money to pay someone to do it. It's just that like, nobody's going to want to do this because this is horrible work. Until again, someone said, like, just ask somebody to see if they want to do it. And when I asked, I had to beat people off with a stick because there are people out there that love that kind of stuff. They love filling columns. They love the data entry. They love looking through reports and just doing it. And it was a huge lesson for me. And I recognizing that I was lying to myself, and that no, if I don't like doing it, nobody else would like doing it. And then also the reverse of that is true, is if I like doing it, everyone likes doing it. So everyone wants to do my job, right? Like everyone wants to do the things that I want to do. And then I found out that when I offer like, hey, like, I'll give you guys a break, hey, I didn't want to, talking to some of our employees and things like that over the years. And I said, hey, I got a treat for you guys. You guys get to do my job for today. And they're like, no, thank you. I'm okay. I'm okay, really. And that was kind of a wake up call too. Like the recognizing that part of this entrepreneurial journey, and when we're being real and raw and authentic, is the recognizing that everyone has their place and it fits. Like what I like doing the most is probably something that, I'm really good at. One, because I like doing it, and too, it's kind of my thing, my part, and everyone has their part, and to have a recognizing of that.
That's so true and brilliant. I was laughing through the whole thing because it's just thinking over and over. My educational background is in finance, but I hate doing bookkeeping, which doesn't make any sense at all, right?
Right.
But I do like looking at cash flow, especially when it's a positive cash flow. But and finding where when it's not, what do we got to do to fix it? But I was the same thing. Like I was trying to find, I can't keep doing this. I need help, and then I just Googled bookkeepers, and it was, yeah. The thing is, like, point I want to make is like, I know 4 or 5 different companies that their business is bookkeeping services, and they primarily work with small businesses. The big conglomerates, they have their own people and they don't need to hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And there's apps that can do the bookkeeping for you. But one of the avenues that you go down that keeps you from having success is thinking you can do this, takes you away from what you really want to do in your business. You don't want to be spending your whole day. For me, it got to a point where I could look at a cash flow at the end of the week. I knew exactly what I was looking for. But if you're struggling with that, or you write code, but you've never really managed people, right? Maybe you need to have somebody be an operational officer in your business to manage like the running of the business, so you can focus on what you want to do, if it's your vision, right? So you get that, getting back to like realizing where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just, don't think you can do everything, because you can't. And you can't do it well.
Yeah, that's true. And that leads to another conversation that I like to go into this more detail on our next episode. But
yeah,
I kind of want to drop a teaser, because it follows this conversation with, one, how to recognize you have a block, how do you work through the block, and I have had several business mentors over the years, business coaches, but also, and I think the reality is you and I met in an entrepreneurial group. And understanding that when you're in a community of other business owners, when you're put yourself in a position of learning through coaching and consulting and mentoring, it really accelerates your journey through the entrepreneurial journey. And so next time we're going to be talking a little bit more about community, about coaching, and about how to leverage all of those things and why those things are so important for the entrepreneurial journey. One, because like John, maybe you can attest to this too. I know I can talk all day on this subject of how do you become an authentic person if you got nobody to be authentic with, right? Like, who do you have in your life that you trust so much that you can share your scariest thoughts with, right? Your greatest fears, right? Like your biggest concerns in your business, also your biggest rewards, right? Without bragging, without like padding it, like to being truly authentic. Like, like where I'm able to say, for like 13 years in my design business, that I refuse to hire anybody to do anything for 13 years, working like countless hours to keep that business going. Right. To sharing that with somebody and saying them, right. And actually having like a real conversation, helping me get through that hurdle, helping me get over that. And the need for community and the need for counseling and consulting and you and I have an advisory board that I value so much, and people you can just be authentic with. And so, yeah, I definitely, like, next week, I want to really, really share with everybody more about this need of community. And also, we have a very cool little offer coming up with the IP resource concerning community. And so we have a little bit of teaser there for there. Um, John, is there anything else you'd like to add for today's discussions?
Just one last thought to your point there is, being surrounded by good people. It doesn't mean hundreds of thousands of people. It just means two or three. Not being afraid to ask for help. That's actually strength. It's not a weakness. So don't think if you're asking for help that you're failing. You're asking for help because and you'll succeed.
Yes.
By finding the right help. That comes in many different ways. You'll
Absolutely.
know it when you need it.
Yeah. No, I think one of the biggest lessons, and I think you would agree, is when I learned that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness.
Well, yeah, I consider it a core value.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John, thank you. What another great conversation. And everyone, thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be sure you never miss a valuable episode. If you have any questions or you want to connect with us, please visit us at theipresource.com and schedule a free consultation. And if you go to www.theipresource.com/assessments, we have several free assessments, both in IP readiness and in business startup, that will help you get an idea of where you stand in your business, where you stand in your IP protection, some of the areas that you might need to focus on. All of that is free, and you also get a free 30-minute consultation to go over your results. Please go to www.theipresource.com/assessments today and get your assessments done and know where you stand. That's it, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.